For me, success as a songwriter, whether it's in Iowa City or anywhere else, is when I feel really proud of a song and then I'm like obsessed with it. That's the most wonderful feeling ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 20.
The last thing I ever thought I'd be is a songwriter until they started coming, and then I started realizing how fun it was to get to nail one, man.
First songs that I wrote were simple, loud songs. Writing songs gave me kind of an outlet to say the kinds of things that I wouldn't be able to talk to anybody about.
I gravitated toward music as a very little person. I would say I didn't really start being a songwriter until my teens.
Yeah, I grew up singing at this really small church in town that only had like 10 of us, 10 members. So me and my 5 siblings were the church choir. My mom made us be the choir. And we didn't really play any instruments or anything, so we just had like pots and pans, but we were singing.
I do remember one of the first songs I wrote, and I got in trouble because I used the word underwear in it. My teacher got mad at me for saying underwear.
I've been creating music my whole life. Mostly, I'm a collaborator. I help a lot with different people here in Iowa City.
I actually moved to Iowa City because of William Elliott Whitmore. I wrote him a letter, and he wrote me back a handwritten postcard. I realized there was something going on in Iowa.
You know, I cut the beaks off chickens when I was 16. I'll tell you a story. Once I was told, when I lived in Nashville, that I smiled too much while I was performing. And I said, hey, let me tell you a secret. They're paying me to play the fucking piano.
I would say that my connection to Iowa City happened pretty quickly. 2 of my favorite things were happening in this town, which are music and literature. First creative writing class in 1897. Followed by the workshop, followed by the international writing program, followed by the nonfiction program.
You know, I've been wandering around America for years and hadn't seen any place quite like the Mill. Like, there was this sort of folk with grit. The afternoon crowd of bikers would be drinking out there. They were construction workers. The workshop people were young and liked to go out too.
It says lubrication over the top of the bar. I wasn't told until much later that it used to be a car dealership and a repair shop.
I mean, you had issues with the sight line. The sound wasn't always great. You know, when I first played there, they had an upright piano, which is why I felt comfortable, you know, taking my clothes off. I was mostly behind the piano. I felt like, you know, it was hot in there. It was warm. In that era, in the 70s and 80s, the Reagan years, you know, people were kind of turning away from some of that stuff. Not in Iowa City, man. I mean, it was balls to the wall.
When I moved to town, you know, I think that kind of central folk thing had already passed, and it was really a scene of like cross-pollination. So whether it was a punk show up at the Hall Mall, in the hallway there, where you were, or the White Lightning Warehouse, where you were like, I'm not sure if any of this is legal, you would see the same people, and they would be playing together in different formations and different bands. And I think that forced people to really have unique sounds.
There was the Green Room, the Yacht Club, and Gabe's, and the Mill, and the Sanctuary.
The Yacht Club was in a basement. You played in the middle of the room, which was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard, until you went and played there, and people were right on top of you, and it was wonderful, you know, and it was a real great rock and roll club.
My favorite Iowa City venues have that, like, a little bit like anything goes, but we all care and respect for each other type thing. But also the house venues and the DIY venues, where you can get a little rough and a little dirty and rough it up and not be so polished.
I've made maybe over 50 albums, DIY, and with like small labels.
How do you start? How do you write a song?
How do you write a song?
Okay, so there's the method where you're just like, I have to write a song, and then you just work really hard until something comes out, and usually those suck. There have been a couple songs where I've actually taken 2 different voice memo snippets that are from like months apart and put them together and then wrote a bridge, and it's like, there you go, that's done. So that's how good Get in the Woodshed was, which is the first song on my Sweet Bitter Tears album. That's how that was written. I need to talk to somebody.
To me, a song has to start with a melody. I can't just be a lyrics first kind of person. And I think that's because the fun of songwriting to me is like the puzzle of it all.
Whatever comes out instinctually, like a lot of times I'm like, oh, I didn't even know I was feeling like that.
Probably the 2 fun parts are the beginning and the end for me.
More often than not, everything kind of happens at the same time. It feels like something needs to happen. Usually it sort of starts with a strumming riff, and then lyrics come, and then there's sort of a back and forth, and it's very organic.
With jazz, the tradition is to learn as many languages as you can. Of course, if you know a lot of languages, you're able to communicate in many different ways.
I have a lot of philosophy around what songwriting is and what music is, the collective consciousness of humanity, and then it exists for a little bit, and then it returns back into the ocean of song, and it's gone.
We lost the mill, we lost a physical space where we gather. It's not that we just lost the mill, but when you lose a venue, it actually like throws the whole like balance of things out of whack.
It's something that's a part of our culture, and as long as there's people like me around that aren't qualified to do anything else, we'll still be out singing its praises from the rafters. I miss the mill terribly, but it was the people that made that place so special.
I tried to write a melody, sure as a good you are. I tried to sing a harmony, steady and strong. And I love the feeling of like being surrounded by rich history. I have two of the benches from the mill in my little home studio just to like, and so I'll just sit and play in those because I'm just like, how many people sat in these benches?
I think we're at a really unique moment in Iowa City where we are coming out of the pandemic and we're ready for the next thing.
Here at the Englert, we are really diving into the idea of songwriting, right? It's such an incredible tradition here in town. This is a literary town. We are often recognized for our poets and our fiction writers and our nonfiction writers. And at the Englert, we think that this town should be as well known for songwriting as it is for all of that.
It's a small enough town that people can try stuff out in a public way. And then it's also big enough to, bring in larger acts, and the cost of living low enough that you can have a full life.
It's just nice here. I think there's just something about the pace of Iowa City that allows the space for creativity.
Whether it's some slamming bands up at Gabe's, or some singer-songwriters, or some country artists getting together at the American Legion out there, wherever they meet, to trade songs. I hope it's not a choice between earbuds and phones and Hampshire. Let's find some middle ground. The whole country needs a middle ground. Mm-hmm. And the music scene needs some middle space.
One day, if we leave this crowd,
city, in a one-horse town. I'll still be around. I'll still be around. Oh, honey, all I can say is
If you were thinking about writing a song for the first time and you are trepidatious about it or worried what people think, I say plow ahead and do it, and just be yourself and make whatever music you want to make. There is no right or wrong way to make music. Even if what you make is considered bad by someone, fuck them.